Hello everyone and welcome back to Sendik's Weather channel for the morning update. Today we're going to take a look at the latest from the models. We're going to have a look at the GFS, the GEM, the ECM WF, the UK Met Office, of course. We're going to look at the UK Met, and we'll also have a look at the ECM AIFS model for the midnight run. So at the moment, the GFS 6 is just coming out, but we will run through what it is because it's mostly out now. But there's some very interesting developments that we are tracking at the moment. One is the hello to the Scandi High, send it to Scandinavia, send it. And then the other development is the potential for a sun-stratospheric warming, which could have an impact later down the line, around the first week of March. We'll have a look at everything today, but I just wanted to say thank you all so much for the support recently. Really appreciate all the lovely comments and stuff we've been receiving. And if you are new to the channel and you enjoy this video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe and watch till the end, because we've got some interesting things to show you. So we'll start where we always start, with the UK Met. So we're going to use the midnight one because the 6th only goes to 2 days out. So the trend is for high pressure at the moment. It's ridging in through the country, and it's going to start moving southwestwards by Tuesday next week. So we're going to go into a southwesterly. By Wednesday, we're into a flat westerly, so a bit cooler before high pressure begins to ridge northwards and just begins to bring in an easterly wind. And even at this point, at 150 hours, we are in some pretty cold air, -5 lines through the country, and there could even be, with them easterly winds, which are, by the way, so you've got high pressure to our north towards Siberia and Scandinavia. The winds are coming around from the east, and in that flow, little troughs and little features are coming through, which means that it could influence the snow risk. The snow risk for the south and the east there, the -10 line, but little cool pool of cold air there on the UK Met. The -10 line is just moving into the southeast there. Pretty interesting. That would be dragging snow showers in. Pretty interesting run, but it gets better. If we have a look at the icon midnight run, and you can see again high pressure ridging to our northeast, winds in from the southwest. Low pressure kind of topples it over though, and then we get a flatter ridge through Wednesday with westerly winds before high pressure has another go against Scandinavia. Successfully gets there, and we bring in an easterly wind. There could be a few flurries in the south and the east there by as early as Saturday with the icon, and it kind of stays that risk. There's a little trough there, a little feature for the southeast there, which could influence the risk of snow showers. With the -5 line through the country, pretty cold air, cold and wintry. Now, what is going to happen is there's going to be a resurgence of high pressure moving northwards towards Scandinavia, which is influencing a further and a stronger easterly wind, which is what the models are playing around with. We've got a small little colder pool at a time before again it clears away, and then we bring in another dosing of which could be very cold air. If we have a look at the GEM next, this is the GEM. Again, very similar, that southwesterly wind for Monday into Tuesday, pretty mild. Then that ridge through Wednesday could feel quite cool, a bit cooler with the Atlantic westerly flow before high pressure builds to our north and east, brings in an easterly wind, and again goes cold with the -5 pool over the top of the country, and it stays quite cool actually. Again, there's the resurgence. You can just see high pressure returns towards Greenland and Scandinavia again. It moves to our north and east, so it's beginning to bring in the wind from a colder easterly wind. With the GEM, there is some cold air, some very cold air just to our east. The -10 line is just out to our east in the sea, and we're about to drag it in, bring in a mini beast. And then we've got the ECM, which is very interesting. Again, very similar for the next few days. High pressure ridges to our north and east, a bit stronger actually with the ECM, with the high towards Scandinavia. Stays quite dry, but would feel quite cold. Again, a lot of these runs will be dry in most areas, besides maybe the east and southeast, but would feel cold with a lot of frost and fog around. Then we get a resurgence of high pressure to our north, pulls in an easterly wind, producing maybe some showers on the south coast, with a quite cold air mass in the south. But most areas are very cold at this point. Before we get... Oh, I'm sorry, a bit of lag there. Before we get another resurgence of high pressure moving to our north, another cold pool moves through, and then the high kind of sticks around the country, keeping it drier, but still quite cold. Look at that cold air going into Eastern Europe and Western Russia. That is pretty crazy. That is the beast. The beast is here. The beast. The beast. It's going to our north and east there. Beast and north and east. Look at that rhyme. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. But yeah, pretty cold air there, producing maybe some snow for many areas actually. A little trough in the system there could produce a little bit of snow there. Now the GFS 6 is almost out now. Let's go. So the high pressure ridges in from the north and east, moving to our northeast, brings in that easterly wind, probably quite dry, but again, we have a clash of cold and milder air masses, the Atlantic versus the Scandi high battleground scenario. The high pressure rebuilds to our north and east. We bring in a proper easterly wind with the GFS 6 said, wow. And we have a bit of a cold pull to our east, the -10 line getting into the country. Hey, this is a mini beast. Winds in from the east, pretty dry, but then look what happens. Proper high between Greenland and Scandinavia gets going, and in comes the beast. Bring in the beast. Sorry, I'm too excited on this video. It's very interesting. Look at that cold to our east. The -10, -15 out to our east. There's just blocking features everywhere. Blocking going up to Greenland, blocking going up to Scandinavia. Winds about to return from the Arctic with the -10 line moving in. And wow, that is very exciting. That highly indicates a negative AO and NAO pattern if it's correct. But it's a long way out to say anything like that. If we're going ahead another 6 hours, then yep, you can see, look at Europe, it's absolutely in the freezer with the -10 line. Even Greenland's in the freezer as well. Look at Europe, absolutely bitterly cold. Looks very similar to the beast from the east, that one. But obviously, it's a long way off and is uncertain. Then we have the AI model, which has been really going for it, the ECM AI model. Very similar for the next few days. High pressure ridges to our northeast. Brings in the easterly. Not really any influence from the from cold and snow showers or anything, but probably will feel quite cold at the surface. Then a resurgence of high pressure moves towards Greenland, bringing in the wind from the east once again, with the -5 line sinking in. Pretty cold, and probably a bit of snow, especially in the south and the east again, with little troughs, little features moving in around the beginning of the week after next. Well, after the next week. So basically, the interest begins around Saturday. Next weekend begins the interest, because we could get a resurgence of easterly winds. And then here it's setting up a right battleground scenario. Low pressure trying to move in from off the Atlantic into that cold air could be fun and games on its leading edge. However, the high pressure then all of a sudden builds towards Scandinavia, a proper Scandinavian high, because heights are quite high to our north. In the northern hemisphere, heights are very high. Brings in a proper beast from the east, low pressure to our south, meaning there could be some snow in the south. And look at that. Bring in the beast. We bring the beast. We bring the beast. That could be quite interesting. And then we have something else which is very interesting as well. Wow, there's so much to talk about in this video. I do apologise, it's all over the place, but I'm a bit excited, I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit excited. I hope you are too. But yeah, that is a very interesting run from the AI model. It has been hinting at this for a while though, but look at that cold plunge to our east. -10, -15, bitterly cold air across many parts of Eastern Europe, through Scandinavia, into Western Russia, just plunging southwards. And wow, look at that. With all those bringing in 10 to 12 degrees below average air. Pretty ridiculous. Now, if we have a look at the strat, there's been a lot of talk about this. It's actually almost out. It's up to 378 hours, so pretty much the whole thing. You can see there's a warming here, but with the 6 it's been very much muted with the warming. Now, the warming does gather pace. We get 2 lobes of warming, which does displace the polar vortex. However, it does not split the polar vortex. But we do get a more significant warming at the very end, which would heavily... The polar vortex is disrupted and displaced. You would expect a response from that. This warming is pretty warm, pretty extreme as well. But it's not sudden stratospheric warming levels, I'd assume. However, the PV is battered and it's much smaller than it was earlier on. -76 to -60, 64. That is not a sudden stratospheric warming, I wouldn't think. But it is a warming, it is a major warming, but it's not a sudden stratospheric warming levels. What you want to see is this. This is the polar vortex at its roots. Basically, you want to see one lobe split off into Canada and one lobe split off into either Eastern or Western Europe. You know, this is in the stratosphere, so way above our heads. But what you want is for 2 lobes to split, caused by this warming gathering pace, which splits it in half and causes one lobe to go to our west and one lobe to go to our east. You know, it can cause lots of things to happen, such as it increases the chance of cold weather. However, the timing is uncertain, but it's usually a 2-week lag time between when it happens and when we see a response at the atmosphere, well, at the atmospheric level, the tropospheric level, which is what we actually see. These weather systems, the tropospheric level is when you'd expect to see that. Now, So yeah, keep monitoring that. I'll keep you updated on that. It's now out fully, and yeah, that is pretty close, but not quite, I'd say. Sun stratospheric warming. Now, what is very interesting to me, anyway, probably not to you, but to me, is that the ensembles have trended even colder now. This is the latest 6Z. I've just put up for Birmingham here, and as you can see, if I move that there, you can see that the runs are more consistently going down to -5. There's a lot less scatter as well. It's a lot more focused in that area. Remember, sorry about that. Remember, go to Barnsley now, my hometown, the best place. Remember, if we do see that cold going, things can happen. So things in the longer term could get interesting. Could we see a beast from the east? Could we actually unleash the beast? Well, that'll have to be identified. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, won't we? With an easterly wind, if you've got a proper easterly wind, it will bring snow showers into the east and southeast, and some of those could drift inland if the easterly winds are strong enough. What is interesting to me is the ECM midnight run ensembles have trended much colder, with a significant plunge in temperatures around the 10th, 11th of Feb, which is very cold enough for snow. Look at the operational run as well, dipping up and down. I mean, this peak is a little bit worrying, but up and down. But the ensembles have definitely trended a lot colder. They're definitely picking up on something interesting developing. Could we see the beast? Because a lot of these runs are actually getting down to the -10 line now. I mean, they're not getting much further down, but they are getting down to the -10 line. All to keep an eye on. Very exciting prospects could be coming up. I just hope I'm not hyping it up for nothing. But I said, second week of Feb, mark it on your calendar, and it might come to fruition, and Sendit will be proven as a weather legend. I'm only joking. But yeah, if we have a look at the midnight run for the GFS then, it's very similar. Trending colder, and staying quite cold, actually. Stays below average, under that -5 line, which is the threshold for colder air. Some of these runs dipping down to -10, but again, things can happen in the longer term if we get a colder pattern. Sometimes the models underdo it, we turn it back to a westerly, when in reality, it could stay colder for much longer than they're showing at the moment. But that's it from me. Yeah, so thank you all so much for tuning in to this really long video. 12 minutes. And I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you're excited as me, unless you don't like cold. I'm looking at you, Hazel. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.